Welcome back. It is the first Tuesday of the month, which, as every month for a long period now, means that we get a new rotation of free assets on the Epic Marketplace. Now, these assets you can get and you get to keep them if you make sure to go into the Epic Marketplace, go to the free section and then free for the month, and you'll find the free 5 assets that are available this month. This month we will be having the Stylized Nanite Dungeon pack. It is an asset pack of about 70 assets of a highly stylized looking dungeon and dungeon related items. We have a modular Asian medieval city. This pack is a beautiful Asian medieval scene with a port, temple, streets and interior comprised of almost 150 meshes. We also get an UnderCity and WonderLand bundle. This is a 2-in-1 bundle of a UnderCity and a WonderLand themed sort of assets. We get a Skeleton Knight modular pack. This pack is a bunch of different body parts and armors that come together to create skeletal knights of different appearances. Finally, we have the Morse RPG template. This is a single player RPG template with a large amount of features. So let's take a closer look at these assets. First out, we have the modular Asian medieval city. So here is the showcase map for this. So you can see if we get ourselves out a little bit, you can see sort of the scale that has been created here. So we have this sort of inlet here with some water to allow us to display the port part of the city. So that's what this looks like. So we have a bunch of boats and some related articles in the harbor here. In addition to that, we also have some other structures. We have a water wheel over here, we have some small buildings, some lanterns, all kinds of things that lend the atmosphere. We also have some cherry blossoms, because of course you have to have those, and some large guard towers and a wall. You also have some temples and some large buildings around here as well. So it's a very beautiful pack, it's very nice and cohesive. If this is something that fits your project, I'm sure you will not be disappointed in this. Next up, we have the Stylized Nanite Dungeon pack. So this is, as you can quite clearly see, a very stylized dungeon scene, which might not work for a whole lot of other assets unless this is the specific type of style that you're making use of. However, it does lend itself with a particular charm. I'm not entirely sure. It feels almost like something that's almost on the comic book side kind of a style, which is quite interesting and looks very, very nice for sure. So this dungeon here, if we go out, you can see here, this is the scale of the dungeon. It does not consist of a whole lot of assets. It's essentially just 2 interlinked rooms and some small parts of pots and skeletal parts and potions and jewelry and chandeliers, lamps, things of that nature. But yeah, so if this is something that works with your kind of style, then this looks like a nice addition. Next up, we have the UnderCity and WonderLand bundle. So this is the display map for the WonderLand part of this bundle. This bundle consists of 2 different bundles or asset packs put together. And this one, as you can see here, has a lot of repetition inside of it. There is a rather small set of items that is available for this pack. And it is interesting, although a little bit niche, I would claim. So I'm not entirely sure how or why or when you will be able to make use of such a pack. But yeah, here you have it at least. In addition to that, we can also take a look at the UnderCity part. The UnderCity part might be something that's a little bit more usable for most people. However, in my opinion, it looks very bland. It does not have a lot of detail. There's not a lot of things that gives it atmosphere. Everything feels pretty flat. So this is something that would only work as sort of the bare bones part of a architecture or level, and then you would have to fill in with a lot of other assets to give it some character and make it feel realistic, because this is just too sparse to make use of by itself. Next up we have the Skeleton Knight Modular. So this is what you get inside of that. You have what is displayed here as 7 different armor sets for a skeleton. So you have some basic animations with this type of skeleton, and you can essentially equip it with different armor parts to get a bunch of different looks. So you have a bunch of different shields over here. There's 6 different, and you have some melee weapons. You also have a crossbow and a bolt. And you have an assortment of different armors, helmets, gauntlets, padding, footwear, kneecaps, things like that. So there's not 7 entire combinations of each individual slot. Some there are 7 different slots for, some there are fewer. But all in all, if you were to multiply the different slots and their different available parts that you can make different combinations out of, you would get a fair amount. It would be in the hundreds, if not more. However, for many of these parts, knee protectors here for example, they don't look entirely that much different, so many of the differences would be very nuanced, very small. All of the armors are using the same sort of color palette, so this green-gray, which means that they of course work well together with the different parts, but it also gives a sort of samey kind of look regardless of what you're making use of. Of course, the benefit of that is that they at least look like they belong together, since they all have the same color scheme. Next up we have Moore's RPG template, and this is probably the one that I'm the most interested in actually diving in a little bit about, because it is a blueprint asset. And as such, I want to go through some of the positives first. So if we take a look here, we can see that this is a Trello board that is available for this actual asset. And you can see here the different releases that have been added over the lifespan of the asset so far. So you can see that there's a lot that has been added over time, and there is also a bunch of different things that are planned on this Trello board. So if we go here, you can see we have estimated arriving. So we can have things like faces and females and wizard clothing, character creation, perk systems, spells, etc., races, and a huge bunch of different things. So that's an interesting and positive thing, as long as the creator actually follows through with this. And I see Trello boards as not only a schedule of what is to come, but also sort of like a loose promise of what the developer is intending to be adding to a pack in this case. In addition to this, you also have this rather beefy documentation. So in this documentation, you can see here there's a terms of support where it's saying that you get some email and Discord to get some support and things like that. And this all looks pretty nice and friendly and useful and things like that. But there is a pretty hefty documentation pack here. You can see that it has a lot of pages, a lot of pages. The documentation is actually almost 300 pages. Now, I haven't gone through all of it and looked through what kind of quality all of it is, but hopefully this should be able to take care of all of your problems or questions that might arise with using of this asset pack. Now, going to the asset pack itself, it is clearly something that is inspired by Skyrim. And you can do a bunch of different things. If we click play here, we get to be thrown into this character, which has a bunch of different UI elements. We have this knight we're running around with. We can go up to these characters. We see that we have a little bit of our radar in the top there, Skyrim style. We also have a minimap in the top right. We can go up to these characters and we can interact with them, which causes us to have some kind of dialogue system running here for us. And you can even walk up to these characters and say that you want to hire them. So we can say that this guy we want to hire, and now we have acquired ourselves a follower which will join us on our journey. So there's a lot of features in this. When it comes to the other parts like combat, we can enter combat by clicking. We can do some fairly slow swings here. We can see that the character there is going to be engaged in combat with us. We're doing our combo moves. We can see that the combat is not very exciting. It is not very responsive. It doesn't give a whole lot of feedback. We have no idea what's actually happening here. So yeah, it is unpolished, I guess, is one way to explain it. So yeah, we can go and fight this character until we feel like we're tired, or we can go do other things. In this case, I'm gonna sheath my weapons. I'm gonna get hit in the back. I'm gonna go up to this horse. I'm gonna mount the horse. We get some animation issues here. I'm gonna run over here. You can see that there are some wolves. We can run over those. We can run to this character over here. He doesn't care if we're on a horse, apparently only if we're not mounted. And things like that. And this, other than being unpolished, I mean, this is a template. It's meant to be something that you build upon, but it feels very unpolished, and it feels, even though the feature set is rather large and impressive, it is not without its problems. When I ran this test earlier, I played around a little bit. I had problems with when the wolves died. They still had collisions, so the character was being thrown around. There were a bunch of different errors that came when I stopped in the editor. There's essentially a lot of things that you need to work on if you're going to be making use of this. And in my opinion about packs of this nature is I'm not super fond of them. Packs that give you a lot of features often have the problem of they are not useful unless they're very close to what you're trying to create, unless all of those features that they sport also are easily disabled without impacting other things. And I'm not entirely sure that this does that. So for that reason, I'm not very fond of these giant packs. I'd rather encounter smaller modular packs that you can just bring into your project and then interface it with what you need, and then that part is its own independent thing rather than these things that tend to be too interconnected. But yeah, so that's my opinion about this pack. If it's something that's interesting for you, I mean, it does have a lot of features, so there's a lot of things that you could possibly look at to learn from if you wanted to look at it as a study experiment or something like that. Other than that, if you're just starting out, this is maybe a good start for you to have something that you can get a foundation on, and then you can play around and build upon it as well. Anyway, that's going to be all for now. Hope this was useful. Keep on learning. Take care. A big thank you to all of you who like, comment, subscribe and share my videos, or through other means support this channel. You are what makes this channel grow and become a resource for other people to learn from.